This webinar is about building content within your Blackboard course. On the agenda today is we're going to talk about the differences between creating folders and learning modules and how they look. We're also going to talk about putting in pages, items, and files, and we'll show the differences between those, how to upload files, and how to create assignments, which used to be called drop boxes in Angel. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my Blackboard account. Okay, now on this I'm going to actually go into a student view so you can see what the students see for the different assignments. I've gone into a course, and when I go into the content area of the course, in this case it's called Learning Modules Content, I have a few different parts of information that's been added to the course. Now the first thing is actually a assignment, which, like I said, is in Angel it used to be called the Dropbox, so students can actually submit work electronically to an assignment box. Now, one of the things that I wanted to start talking about first is the difference in the views between a folder and a learning module. Now, a folder looks just like that. It's going to show a yellow folder. It's going to hold content that's related to an area within your course. If you have like an online or a hybrid course, you would build your modules in a folder, and then students would open the folder and have the information about a week or a couple chapters or however you want to set it up. Now what I did was I actually created a folder that was in a learning module that held the exact same content. I just put a little bit different name on it. So this course information / syllabus is going to hold the same information as this course information learning module. So I'm going to open up the course syllabus here, and you can see it looks very familiar compared between Angel and Blackboard. You can see the content. All these pieces of information are on pages, and students would have to open these pages to be able to see them. So I could open up the welcome page and see the information there. Okay, and then students can either go backwards in the navigation toolbar, or they can go back to the folder by clicking on the path on the top of the screen there. Okay, so that's what a folder would look like when you open up the folder. Now, if I go back into the learning module and I actually go to this learning module, you can see the icon is a little bit different. Okay, it looks like I just had somebody arrive in. I've already started the presentation, so hello Gail, hopefully you can hear me. And right now I just showed them what a folder would look like as opposed to a learning module. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to open up the learning module so you can see the difference. And with the learning module, one of the things that it offers is a table of contents over on the left-hand side. Hi Gail, I can hear you if you have a microphone. Okay, and with the learning module you can actually collapse the table of contents on the left hand side or expand it using these buttons at the top. And when you have a learning module, it automatically opens up the first piece of content within the learning module. So you can see my welcome announcement automatically showing up on the screen. Now, with a learning module, you also have the option to move between pages. So on the right hand side of my welcome, you can actually see that I have an option to go from page to page using this. Okay, now this actually opened up in another page, so I'm going to close that up. You also can use the table of contents on the left hand side to be able to go in and click on things. Okay, now Gail, I'm going to mute you at this point just because I can hear background noise. Okay, so you can click on different pieces of content using the table of contents going down the left-hand side, or you can use the page buttons. All right, so those are the big main difference between setting up a folder as opposed to a learning module. Okay, so I'm going to go back in. Now, to be able to set these up, it's identical. I'm going to exit out of the student view for a second here. All right, and I'm going to go back into my content area, which I have named Learning Modules Content. And what we're going to look at is the area where you can actually go in and build your content. So what I just showed you were the differences between a content folder and a learning module. And they're both to be able to group pieces of content together. And it's just like building a folder in a filing cabinet. It's the same idea. Okay. So you can go in and do either one of them to hold content. Now, if I were going to go in and start from scratch, and let's say I want to add one, I'm going to go in and let's say I want to add a content folder. Okay, you would name the folder, and what used to be kind of the sub heading in Angel, you could actually put into the text box in here. So I can tell them that they need to read the document or whatever it is, what's in the folder. I can tell them whether I want to permit them to be able to see it right now. And if I want them to be able to see it but at a later date, I still have to have this view content on as yes, but I can go in and set up specific dates. Then I want to give them access to this folder and the content within the folder. Okay, so that's how easy it is to go in and set up one of these folders. So I'm just going to call this practice. Okay, and I'm going to turn off the display. I just want them to be able to see it. Okay, so you can see it automatically came up at the bottom of the list of what's already been developed in here. So if you did want to move it up, I could click and drag it and move it to a different location within my list. Okay, by just grabbing the bar in the front of it. Now to be able to do all this, your edit mode has to be on, so make sure that you've checked the upper right hand corner and your edit mode is on. Now it's going to be the exact same steps if you're going to go in and add a learning module. Okay, you do have some extra options in here. You do have an option to enforce sequential viewing, which means a student would have to go through each document or each item within a learning module to be able to advance and be able to look at the next item. It's up to you if you want to do that. Now, you cannot do this if you add this learning module as a menu item over on the left-hand side. You can only do it if it's in a content area. So kind of keep that in mind as well. You do want to permit your users to be able to see it. Okay, you do have the option to show the table of contents or not, and whether you want it to, you can have it number or do a combination of letters and numbers, Roman numerals, if you want that to show up in the table of contents. Okay. All right, so like I said, at this point, these were the two items. They were folders and learning modules. Okay, and they're both in there to be able to group information together. Okay, now to go in and add other content to your course. For an example, 3 of the most common things that you add to your course are items, blank pages, and files. Okay, now there's a little bit of difference between each one of those. If you create a blank page, a student actually has to click on the link for the blank page to be able to read it. If you create an item, it is not a link. They actually see what's within that item within that page without actually opening it up. And then a file would actually create a link to a file that you've uploaded. Okay, so for an example, I have an item here that actually is just a link to another file. All right, so as I point to it, if I actually turn on my student view again for this item, let me go back. Okay, if you can see, my mouse does not change, so it does not allow you to link to it. Now down here, this is a page, so I get the pointing finger to let me know that this is a link. So for this item, it's just a PDF file, and they could click on that file to be able to open it. Now this one here is also an item, so you can actually see the text without going into anything. It's viewable right on the screen. Now just keep in mind that if you have a lot of text, you are not going to want to put it in this item because it's going to take up a lot of room on the page or on the screen. I've taken the same information and I've also put it into this page so you can see the difference. So when students click on it, they actually see the information that is located on the page. So pages require students to link on them to be able to see the content, and if it's an item, they do not click on it. They actually see the text that's showing right on the screen for the item without actually having to go into it. And you can see that I actually have a video here, a link to a video, so they don't have to go into the page and then click on the link to show the video. They can do it right from here. Now, if you're going to add, I'm going to exit back out of the student preview. If you're going to add a page or a item, you would just go into the build content area and do item. Okay, you give it a name, you put in the information that you want the students to see. You can attach a file to it so they would get a link to actually click on the file to be able to open it. You can tell it whether you want to permit their users to be able to see it right now. If you want them to be able to see it at a later date, you still have to tell it to be able to view the content, and then you have to set up the start date and end date for it, and then submit that item. Okay, and if you were going to go in and add a page, it's basically the same thing. You would just select blank page. Okay, now basically what's going to show up in here is what's going to show up when they open up the page. Okay, so you would fill your content in here. You can still go in and add a file to it that they could link to, and then they would open it up and be able to download that file. I would actually recommend syllabuses, course schedules, anything like that that they're going to want to print. I would recommend that you use that as a file that is attached either to a page or an item, or you can upload it as a file. You're going to see that pages have the same features, just like the item did. You're going to tell it whether you want to permit the user to be able to see it, and you can go in and turn your start and end date on if you want to do that. Okay, if you have a file that you want to attach, you would just do your browse my computer, and then you would just attach the file. I'll just grab one, and I'm just gonna say okay, and I'll submit that. So now if I go to where I just added that, I can go to the bottom, and I can actually, because it's a file within a page, I can open the page and be able to download the file, or I can actually see the file right here. So if I click on the page, oh, I got to turn on student view, hold on. Okay, so if I go into the student view for it and they open up the page, they'll just see the link for the file, and then they can open it up. Okay. All right, let me go back in. And if you wanted to just have a file that you're going to upload, I would just go to File. You would put in the file name. Now notice they don't have a content area in here, so you really can't write any more explanation in there other than the name that's going to appear. So I can, again, I'm going to put in Excel file, and I'm going to go to Browse My Computer and just grab that same file. And then you have the choice of whether you want it to open it up in a new window or not. Adding alignments to this content, right now we don't have any alignments, so I don't have anything to add to that. Permit users to view the content, again, that's going to be the same, and then you can give them specific dates. I want them to be able to see it right now, so I want to submit that. Okay, so the big difference is if you're going to do a file and you want to give them some explanation as to why they're going to load that file and why they're going to use it, you probably would be better off adding it as an item or as a page. If you do it on the page, then they can read the information that you have on the page, and then it will include the link to open that file. So it all depends on if they need a little bit of explanation for the file that they're going to download. So you can see that it's a little bit different icons in the front of it, and they would actually click on the link for the file and it would actually open the file. They don't have to do anything special, and it would give them the option to open it up or save it on their computer and be able to use it. Okay, now I want to check here. Gail, I'm going to unmute you. So at this point, if you have a microphone, you can ask me a question. I can kind of hear you in the background a little bit with some background noise. Another way that you can ask a question is to expand the panel on the right-hand side of your screen and be able to put something in the chat area too. So if you wanted to ask a question about this. So, okay. Gail, are you there? No, I'm not getting, all I'm getting is feedback from you, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. If you wanted to ask a question at any time, you can put it in the chat area where it says type message here. Okay? Okay. Now, some of the other content that you can go in and add to your course, we're not going to get too deep into it. You can upload audio files, so if you had maybe done something with Audio Boo or have some kind of recording, you can upload that. If you have an image saved to your computer, you can upload the image. You can upload a video that you've created and throw it into your course. A lot of times we're actually recommending people to upload their videos to YouTube and then pull the video in from YouTube and they can use the link for YouTube right here. If you are using SlideShare or if you have an image from Flickr photos, you can go in and do a search for that. If you're doing an online course, you do have the option to pull in videos from Atomic Learning. Now, if the course is not an online or a hybrid course, when you click on Atomic Learning, it will tell you that you don't have access to Atomic Learning through that course. All right. You can also pull in Explore. It's a learning object repository that you can actually put content out in and bring that content in from Explore. And then another thing that we often will use is web links. And I can go in and create a web link and just give it a name and then put in the URL. So if I do something, let's say I'm going to do the e-learning website. And I know the oops, got the wrong thing there. Okay, now you could always navigate to the web page, copy the URL and paste it in to put it in here. I'm going to make it available. I'm going to submit this. Okay, so now it's been added to them at the bottom here. So this will just give them a link directly to that blog. So if they were to click on that, I must have put the wrong, not the full address in there correctly. So that would take them to that link. So if you have third-party web content that you're using, you could build a link right out to that third-party content if you wanted to. At this point, so those are some of the things that you can go in and add and work with within your course. The other thing that you might want to do is go in and create a course link, and that will let you link to other parts in your course. So if you have a course schedule and you want to just keep referring back to that course schedule, you can do that. It creates an item. It's not like in Angel where you could have text within a page and link out to that particular item. This will actually create something like in the menu here that will link to a different part of the course. So if you had maybe an explanation on how to participate in a discussion, you could create a link above the discussion to go out to that folder or something like that. Okay, now one of the other things that we had talked about being able to do is building an assignment where students could electronically submit the assignment either by typing into a box or actually going in and attaching a file to it. So to go in and do this, you're going to go into the assignments option above the within the content area here, and I'm going to add an assignment. Okay, and I'm going to do let's see here, project 1. And I'm just putting a little explanation in there. Now, at this point, you could type in your instructions in the instructions box if you wanted to, or if your instructions are very large, I would actually recommend just going in and uploading a Word document that they can print out and have next to them. So I could go in to browse my computer and then just grab the instruction sheet and add it to the actual link instead of typing all the instructions in here. You could also copy and paste it from a Word document into the instruction box. Okay. Now, if you put in a due date for the assignment, you get to, it automatically sets that up within the calendar. It's also going to, remind students that something's new and coming up. Also, if you go in and add a possible number of points, which you usually want to do, it's going to add it to the course, okay, or I'm sorry, into the Grade Center for you. Okay. Now they've got other information here. You can do like an individual submission or a group submission. Now this is something that is brand new to our version of Blackboard that they just updated. So I'll have to get back to you on some of the options here. Grading options, anonymous grading, and enable deleting grading. The anonymous grading, you cannot see who actually submitted the work. So you won't see it, you'll grade it, and then go from there. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about that. Display grades, I can tell it from here whether I want to display the score or their percentage or their letter grade. Okay, do I want to include this grade in the Grade Center? And this time I'm going to have that on as yes. Do I want to show this to students in the My Grade Center? Yes. Show statistics? No. I usually don't show that to students. That's going to be based on the statistics with the rest of the students' grades. So I'm not going to go in and do anything with that. Make the assignment available. You can just leave that checked and then tell it to display before or after in here. Tracking views, if you want to know who's actually gone in and clicked on an assignment and maybe read the instructions, things like that. You might want to turn the tracking on for that. All right, so I've got it all set up the way that I want the assignment to be, and I'm going to submit that. Okay, and it seems to be taking a little bit of time to get going here. Okay, and this assignment has been added to the bottom, so I'm just going to grab it, bring it all the way back up to the top here so you can see it. And you can see that because I didn't put any information in for the instructions and I just gave them a file, they would have to click on the file to be able to see the instructions. Now in this assignment here, I actually wrote the instructions within the allotted box here. So if I go into that one and edit it, You can see that I wrote my instructions here instead of grabbing a file. And this one I do have some limited access dates and stuff to it. Okay, now from the student's perspective and what they're going to see when they go to these assignments, I'm going to turn on my student view. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my learning modules, and when the student, if they click on the actual project, now because I didn't put any instructions in there, they still have the file that they could download. They can see the possible number of points, and if they're going to write their information in, they've got to make sure that they do write submission, and that's where they're actually going to write or copy and paste their information for the assignment in here. If you've asked them to submit the work via a Word document, you can have them use the Browse My Computer, grab the Word document, and it will upload it as part of the assignment. Okay, so I'm not going to write in a submission on this one. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and submit this. Okay, so that's how easy it is to go in and add that assignment. Remember, it used to be called Dropbox in Angel, Dropbox assignments. The students can load up content and be able to, they can type into the box that's provided, or they can go in and submit a Word document. And they're actually recommending for assignments now so that you can use the Crocodoc grading, inline grading, that they should actually upload the file not as a rich text file but as a Word document, or you can even do a PDF or Excel or PowerPoint. And when they upload one of those, you can actually use the Crocodoc features to be able to go in and write comments and mark it up right on the page. And then students can actually come back into this assignment and they can see this document with the marked up text on it. So they can see any comments that you made, if you've crossed stuff off, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this. This is what students see once they submit. I'm going to exit the student preview, but I'm going to tell it to keep the student data. So I'm going to keep that in there and continue. All right, so now I can actually go into my Grade Center. I'm going to go to the Full Grade Center, and I can see this new preview student that was created when I went into the student view. And I can see that I have a submission here for the project. So now I'm looking at it as faculty, and I can actually go in and view the grade, or what they've submitted here, and I'm going to do a view attempts. Okay, so now it's actually loading what they have submitted as their assignment. So I have the option to go in, I can use the highlighter to highlight stuff. I can use the strike through to eliminate things. I can add comments. Okay, and then I can give them a grade. And then give them some feedback here. Okay, and I'm going to submit that. Okay, so I can see the percentage that I gave them. I can see the feedback that I gave them, and it's been completed. So now I'm going to actually log in as this test student again. And when I go back in, and I go back into that assignment, you can actually see what I've actually typed in here, and you can see the comments on the right-hand side here. All right, they can also go in and they can see the feedback that I wrote at the bottom. Okay, so it's a good idea to have them submit their work electronically this way. Okay, also if they go to My Grades, they can actually see the grade that they've gotten on that project, and this little call out will let them know that there's feedback there, and they can click on it and actually read the feedback that you've put in for the assignment. Okay. All right. They can also click on the assignment and it will take them back into the assignment so they can, again, see what other comments or anything that you put in on that document. Okay. I'm going to exit the preview and keep the data for now. All right. Now I am going to have get some time, so I am going to go in and show you how to go in and search for a YouTube video and add it to your course. So I'm going to go back into Build Content, and I'm going to go into YouTube video. All right, and I can do a search on anything. I'm going to do PowerPoint. Okay, and it gives me a whole bunch of videos. Now I can preview them or I can select one, so I'm just going to go in and I'm going to select this one here. Okay, and I could put it in the description, please watch video. Okay, now you can choose how the YouTube video is going to show up. So if I go into here, there's an option of thumbnail, text where it would actually link out to YouTube, or I can actually embed the video right on the screen. So I'm going to choose embed video right now. I would always recommend showing the URL to the video because if there's a problem and they can't get it to work, this way they can go out to YouTube and they can look at the video there as well. Okay, I'm not going to attach a file. I'm going to set it up so they can see it and then submit that. Okay, so now if you come down, you can see with the embedded, they've actually made the video a little bit bigger, and they do have the option to expand it to a full screen. So that's how easy it is to go in and embed a video, YouTube video. So if you have one of those. All right. We can also do a SlideShare presentation if you have, if you're using SlideShare to put your presentations and hold them out on the cloud. You can go in and pull up any presentation, or you can look for other presentations that are available for any topic. Again, since PowerPoint, I'm going to grab this. Oh, nothing that matches. Maybe I put the space in there. Oh, there it comes. Okay, so they got a whole bunch of slideshows talking about PowerPoint. All right, so this one looks interesting, so I'm going to select this one. Actually, that looks like it's a non-English speaking one. Let me go back. Let me go back without, yeah, okay, let's find another one that might not be a different language. So I'm going to select this one. Okay, so you have the same options, so I can go in and do a thumbnail. Let's do a thumbnail this time and see the difference here. Okay, so this time they actually would click on it and it would open up on, it should open up on the full page. Okay, so they can go through the PowerPoint this way. Okay, so that's how you can go in and pull in PowerPoints from SlideShare. Alrighty, so we've talked about building content and using either the blank page, or I'm sorry, the content folder and the learning modules to be able to hold all your related content together in one of those areas. And then we talked about building the content, which you would either use an item, a blank page. Now remember, the difference between the two is an item shows all the content right on the screen. It does take up space if you have a lot of content that you're writing about. A blank page, the student actually has to click on it to be able to see what is on the page. If you want to upload a file, I would recommend that if you just need to give them the file, use the file option. If you need to give them instructions on what to do with the file, then I would upload the file as part of a blank page, or put it in as an item and give them directions that way. Okay. If you, like I said, if you have files like audio files or image files or video, you can just choose one of those options on the left, and those are usually files that are on your computer that you're going to upload for students to listen to or watch. The web link, if you had third-party content or if you wanted to link out to content, you would use the web link option. If you wanted to go in and pull content from either Flickr, if you wanted to pull a photo in, the SlideShare I showed you, how to go in and grab a presentation and bring it in, the YouTube video. Like I said, the Atomic Learning you will only have access to if you are in an online course, and online or a hybrid course, because that's the only ones that have the license to be able to use Atomic Learning, and then the Explorer. Now, if I do try to go into Atomic Learning from this practice course, it should tell me that I don't have access to that. But if I go into, let me go into one of my online courses. Okay, so if I go into my content area and tell it I want to go in and grab Atomic Learning content, I could go in and search either on an application. Let's say I want to show them how to use Blackboard Learn. I can go in and grab, we're on Service Pack 14 right now, so I'm going to grab that and tell it to go, and I'm going to see what topics they have available for me. Okay, so I'm going to grab one of these, click on it, and I can see all the videos. So if I had something specific I wanted to show my students, let me see here. Let's say I want to show them how to personalize my institution page, how to set up their notification dashboard, and those are the videos that I want to add. And I'm going to select those. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a folder with the content with those videos that you chose. So if I now go into that folder, I can see the 2 videos that I chose that I want my students to see. Now, Atomic Learning, like I said, is something right now we only have a license for online and hybrid students and faculty, and you can pull information in your courses. If you are going to, let's say your students have to do a final project that's going to require them to use Word, and you want to give them information on how to use certain features in Word, you can go in and add those to your course and add the links to the different videos for those features from Atomic Learning. It's a great tool to be able to use. Okay, so at this point, those are the main things of building content within your course. In our second part, we're going to talk about going in and building other things that might be more useful for online faculty, like assessments like tests and surveys and self-peer assessments, and talk about the difference between the mobile compatible tests, and we'll talk a little bit about the different tools and stuff that are available in Blackboard. Okay, so at this point, Gail, if you had any questions, you could type it into the area. I'm going to unmute you at this point. I don't know if I can hear feedback. Gail, are you hearing me? Do you have a microphone that you can talk into? Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but if Gail wants to ask me questions, she can.